Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center. And today we're taking a look at the best mini pocket knives for EDC that you can get right now in 2020. Let's check them out. So I know like a lot of you, being knife people, we really do like some larger blades, but the smaller knives out there definitely have their place. And with so many of us starting to go back to work right now, it's the perfect time to take a look at a new small office EDC. So the first design I'm going to look at is probably one of the first knives you think of when you think of mini. It is the Mini Griptilian from Benchmade. Now the Griptilian series has been out for a long time, and it keeps getting stronger over time because it's just a fantastic little design, both in the standard size and the smaller one here. The handles themselves have a very neutral shape. They don't have any kind of aggressive finger guards, so all kinds of different hand sizes are going to be able to grip this without too much discomfort. For me, I've got slightly larger hands. It gives us, I got kind of a 3.5 finger grip on this knife, and the blade itself comes in just under 3 inches. And of all the knives we're going to take a look at here today, all of these blade lengths are going to come in under that 3-inch mark. Now, one of the great things about the Griptilian series as a whole are the number of options that are available at a range of different prices. The base models start just a little bit over 100, I think 102 for the standard model that has a black synthetic handle and an S30V blade. Right here I'm holding the upgraded version that features a 20 CV blade with gray G10 with blue liners and blue hardware. It's definitely a nicer feel overall, and that little pop of color makes it look a little bit classier than the standard version as well. Now there's a few different blade shapes to choose from as well. I've got the drop point here, but there's also a modified sheep's foot and a tanto profile. Now I actually carried a Mini Griptilian myself as my primary EDC for several years at a previous office job, and I can tell you that even though the blade is shorter, even though mentally my inner knife guy might have wanted a larger blade, I never actually needed one. The other thing I like about the Griptilian series that's going to be appreciated is the versatility in terms of its ambidextrousness. First of all, that axis lock. You've got that crossbar lock going through both sides of the handle so that it's equally usable by left or right-handed people, no problem. And on this upgraded version, you've got a deep carry clip, but no matter which version you choose, that pocket clip is reversible to either side. And when you throw in the addicting nature of that axis lock, which lets you flick the blade open and closed, this really is a phenomenal design. Now when we're talking about mini knives, there's another design, another classic design that probably comes to mind quite readily, and that's the Spyderco Dragonfly 2. Like the Griptilian series, this knife also comes in a wide range of models, starting with VG10 steel and a synthetic handle with bidirectional texturing. Prices on those start just a bit above the $60 mark. Now this version I have right here is actually a KnifeCenter exclusive that features several important upgrades. First and foremost is the blade itself. Like most of the Dragonfly series, we've got a simple drop point shape here, but the steel on this blade is actually a laminated steel. What that means in this case is we've got some outer layers made of a stainless steel, while the core cutting steel is made from HAP 40, which is a powder metallurgy steel that's going to have really high edge retention, and it's also going to patina over time because it's not completely stainless. That's going to look good once it wears in, and to kind of complement that old school vibe, these KnifeCenter exclusives come with Pack-A-Wood handles, which is a stabilized wood product that you're not going to have to worry about shrinking or cracking like natural wood can do. But apart from those upgrades, this is still the same great Spyderco design that has some of those great elements that they like to put on their small knives that make them behave like a bigger knife when you really need to push them into use. Now the knife folds up very small in the pocket, but when you open it up, because of this full-size finger choil here that's right around the pivot area, you can still get a pretty full grip on the knife. So even though the blade itself is shorter, you're going to be able to exert a lot of control and power over it. We've also got Spyderco's back lock, mid-mounted, and it comes with the David Boyd dent on it, which does a couple things. One, you're going to be able to find it a little easier with your thumb or whatever finger you're going to use to unlock it without actually having to look at the knife. But also, and even more important on a smaller knife like this, if you're really squeezing the knife, there's much less chance of you actually disengaging that lock bar accidentally. Now in fitting with this sort of upgraded, fancier gentleman's look of this knife, it's fitting that we're going to have Spyderco's wire clip on here. A little bit does stick up above the pocket still, but it's going to look fantastic and not at all tactical. This is just a phenomenal all-around small EDC with a nice full flat grind on the blade, giving you excellent cutting characteristics for all your daily needs. All right, one more classic mini before we get into maybe a few more lesser known designs, the Kershaw Scallion, another bona fide knife design. This is a knife designed by the famous Ken Onion, and it features the speed-safe assisted opening mechanism that he helped popularize. There's a little bit of a flipper tab there in addition to some small thumb studs, but all you have to do is start to push that blade out and a spring's gonna take over and carry the blade the rest of the way. The steel itself is 420 HC, a good baseline stainless steel, and it's got a cool little feature here. We've got a bit of a recurve here at the back, so that even though the blade comes in only about 2¼ inches, you do manage to get a little bit more sharpened edge in that length because of that recurve right there. That's also going to come in really handy when you're opening packages or boxes. When you're drawing the knife back, you might get a little better edge contact here on the back end. Now there's several versions of this knife available. I happen to have the blue anodized version right here that comes with a liner lock. There's a few different colors. There's also a stainless steel frame lock version, as well as a liner lock version that has some synthetic handles, and those are even cheaper. Those start at about $45. This one right here comes in just a little bit over $50. But I especially like this blue color or any other kind of brightly colored handles, especially on a smaller knife, because they tend to feel less threatening to people. They're a little more attractive and just a little more socially acceptable. You can also check out the Chive model, which is a little bit shorter, or if you want a slightly larger knife that's still nice and compact, you can check out the Leek. That one does come in with a blade just over 3 inches though, so keep that in mind if that's important to you. All right, now we're gonna take a look at a newcomer to the scene, that being Steel Will, and we've got their Modus Mini right here. Prices on these are really good right now. This comes in at about $47, and we've got a 2¾ inch blade of D2 tool steel. This particular version coming with a black stonewashed finish, although there are several different versions of both handle and blade finish combos available. The handle on this particular knife takes kind of a different tack than the Kershaw, which kind of softens its image a little bit. The black and red definitely feels a little more almost menacing, which is kind of, it's another tack you can take, and it does look pretty cool. We've got black FRN for the handles to keep the weight down, and a red aluminum backspacer. But again, as I mentioned, there are a few different color options available. The pocket clip is reversible, left or right. The lock, however, is a liner lock, and it is right-hand biased. But what's really nice about these is the action they've always been tuned really well, every single one I've ever tried. I also like the lines of this knife overall. You've got a cool organic shape, kind of flowing lines going on, and that continues in the edge itself, which has a bit of a continuous curve, which I always appreciate because it's going to follow the motion of your elbow as you move through a cut, keeping the edge a little more in line with the way you'd want it to be cutting through something. Now again, this is the mini version, but if you want slightly bigger, there is a full-size version of the Modus as well, but that's not what we're focusing on today. I do think this knife has a bit more of a utilitarian vibe than some of the ones we just looked at, especially in the color combos we're looking at. And keeping that in mind, I'm going to go with another very utilitarian small design, but it's going to be the fancy version of it. This is the Boker Plus Subcom by Chad Los Banos. Now, base models of these start around $43, but this is the fancier version that has a VG10 steel blade and titanium handles, and it comes in about $75 right now. Now, whereas the Spyderco knife gave us a bit of a choil so that you can still get a fuller grip on this knife, the handle on this Subcom is definitely shorter, but because it's so wide and flat and has such a deep finger groove right here, even though it's a 2.5 or a 2-finger knife, you really do get a very secure hold on it. And again, this is one I can comment on from experience. I used to carry one of the base AUS 8 versions for a while, and you do manage to get a large amount of work done for a blade that comes in under 2 inches. But the nice thing about this blade, in addition to the upgrade in steel, VG10 is quite nice. It's nice and thin, and the grind is nice and high, so the cutting geometry is going to be quite good. And you've even got a nice horizontal satin finish on here, which is it's a feature that you normally only see on custom knives, or you more commonly see on custom knives. Granted, they're not doing it by hand here, but it's just something that looks and feels a little nicer than your run-of-the-mill pocket knife blade. As you can see also, the handles are nice and thin, as I mentioned earlier, and that's going to make it very easy to carry. There is a 2-position pocket clip. You can carry it tip up or tip down on the right side, but you can, even with the pocket clip on, or even more so with the pocket clip off, this is going to be a great option for that little 5th pocket in your pair of jeans that normally doesn't see much use otherwise. All right, now if you're looking to pack the most utility and the most strength possible into your mini knife, these next 2 knives are going to be good ones to take a look at. The first is from Kaiser, and it's the Sheepdog Mini. Now this knife starts at about $70 for versions with G10 handles and 154 cm. This right here is one of the upgraded versions. It has a contoured titanium handle that's quite comfortable and an excellent S35 VN cleaver shaped blade, and this one comes in at about $170. The handle on here is only a 3-finger design, but because of the shape and because of the contouring, it really locks into my hand quite nicely, and you've still got that excellent and very broad S35 VN blade to get a ton of work done. It's going to be able to stand up to some slightly more punishing tasks maybe than some of these other knives, and you're going to have a lot of edge retention behind it as well. Plus, being a Kaiser, it has some features that you probably have grown accustomed to. It is a flipper, we've got ball bearings in the pivot, and the action is fantastic. And it's just such a cool look overall. Definitely not your run-of-the-mill pocket knife, and definitely something that, even though it's small, is going to make a pretty nice statement when you pull it out to cut something. If you need even more strength though, look no further than the DPX Heat. This series starts around 150, going up to this version right here is about 185, and it has a few different upgrades on it. But as you can see, we've got a very thick blade stock right here. So it's naturally not going to be as efficient a cutter as some of these other designs, but it is going to be able to stand up to a ton of punishment. And that's especially true for this triple black version right here, which is very blacked out overall. Might be a decent backup tactical knife if you need something this small, because the only reflection you're going to get is from the edge, maybe a little bit on the sort of the markings here on the back, but they are very subtle. But the blade steel on this one is Nylox, which is a very hard-working steel, and it's got that excellent PVD coating on it to keep it safe. The handle construction, while seeming very simple, is very robust. We've got a nice thick G10 scale on one side and a thick slab of titanium on the other with a very secure frame lock. We've got a deep carry pocket clip for right side tip-up carry and a nice glass breaker there at the back. One of the features you'll also see on this knife that was carried over from the larger Hest folders is we've got a notch cut out on the spine of the blade here. It does a couple things. One, it's a bottle opener, so I guess this technically makes this a multi-tool, but it also works as a pocket deployer. So if, as you're drawing the knife, if you angle it just so, you can use that little hook to catch the lip of the hem of your pocket, and it'll deploy the blade, rotating it open as you draw it, so it's a very speedy way to access your edge. But if you really need to have the maximum amount of strength in a size that is going to be able to be carried just about anywhere, this is the way you're going to want to go for sure. All right, let's go to the complete opposite end of the spectrum. We're going to go from the big, overbuilt to the more gentlemanly knives. This is the Boker Urban Trapper Petite, just an excellent all-around gentleman's knife that perfectly embodies the spirit of what we like to call executive knives. That's thin, long, slender, profiled blade. Prices on these are very reasonable too for what you get. This one right here starts at $92. You get a VG10 blade. Again, nice narrow profile. It's going to fit into some very tight spaces and be able to pull off some very precise cuts. Also, because Boker likes to do this, as you saw it on that subcom, we've got that nice horizontal grain for just a nicer feel overall. And some other nice touches that you don't typically see at this price range either, including a nicely crowned spine here that gives off a very nice impression. We've also got a titanium frame with a liner lock. This isn't stainless steel, so the weight is very low. And this version right here comes with a wood scale on top, which is Cocobolo for a really nice look. And we've even got a very nice deep carry pocket clip on the back. And when folded up, you've only got a 2 3/4 inch blade. It takes up very little room in your pocket. This truly is a mini knife. We're getting into some real mini stuff now. But the action, excellent. Very good stuff overall. There's a few different versions of this as well. You can get a carbon fiber or a G10, I think. As well, if you want even slimmer, a plain stonewashed titanium version with some holes drilled out. You can see how thin that is, and it's definitely even lighter, but it's still nice and easy to actuate. It's very cool. If you do want something with kind of a similar aesthetic, but you really want something that's super nice, something that's going to be definitely an heirloom quality or a custom knife, I've got two here for you to look at. The first is the Ziba MS3. Now, Michael Ziba has done several different versions of this knife over the years. This particular one comes with a Damasteel blade and comes in at the $465 price point. That blade is about 2 5/8 of an inch long. Again, a nice executive type of profile, very thin and narrow, like a pencil almost. And of course, being Damasteel, you've got powder metallurgy construction behind that patterning there. So it isn't just for looks. You're actually going to get very excellent performance out of this steel. Now, what I like particularly about this design is that when it's folded up, the blade completely hides away in the handle. All you've got is this little tiny flipper tab sticking out right here at the back. So it's not going to get snagged. It definitely presents a very narrow profile in your pocket. It's going to carry quite nicely with the milled titanium pocket clip right there. And from that angle, you can even see the carbon fiber backspacer. Now you could just flip this out normally with your index finger. I found this particular design works very well using your thumb in the lighter flick. It's just very satisfying to do. But this is definitely a knife you can take pride in. The fit and finish is very, very good, and it's just an all-around fantastic design. Now if your tastes run a little more traditional, the other high-end one I'm going to show you today is the Chris Reeve Menundi. Now, even though this looks kind of like a modernized old school slip joint, this does have a lock. We've got a nice strong frame lock here, but we still get that vibe and that aesthetic of something being very classic and old school. Now the Menundi starts at about $400 for the standard versions with S35 VN. This one right here with an upgraded handle and the Devin Thomas Damascus blade comes in just under $600. That blade length is about 2 3/4. The shape is very recognizable and very elegant. You've got a pinch point here rather than a traditional nail nick, and that's on both sides in order to open the blade. We've got a nice hollow grind to keep things nice and slicey. Now the handle scales on this one, you've got it on both sides, is Makassar ebony. Ebony, of course, is going to vary a little bit. This particular one is on the blacker side, but you will get some versions that have a little bit of striations, and in my opinion, just a little bit more character too. It's a classy look overall, and it's even going to look classy in your pocket with a very distinctive milled titanium pocket clip here on the back side. Now, if you've never experienced Chris Reeve quality before, you're definitely in for a treat. I can tell you again, putting a lot of personal experience in this one. When I got my first Sebenza, I instantly saw why so many people are crazy about them, and this knife has exactly the same qualities. All right, these are all great knives. I stand behind every one of them here on the table. But if none of them are actually mini enough for you, if you are expecting something truly microscopic, I've got something for you here too. This is the Hummingbird from Reich. Now I know this may look like a bit of a gimmick to you. It's actually not. There actually is some good stuff going on here, but it is a little pricey. This does come in at $135. For that though, you are gonna get titanium handles. There's a few different colors you can get. This is the Blurple right here. You've even got a small pocket clip on the right side. And the blade itself is Damasteel, so you're going to get some really good edge retention, even though the blade is only about 1.6 or just under 1.6 inches long. So if you're going to carry around a knife and not have a whole lot of edge on it, you might as well be having a knife that has a ton of edge retention to kind of make up for that just a little bit. Now you do have a frame lock, and you've got that lock bar insert that actually interfaces with the steel itself. I'll close it up here. And surprising me, especially more than anyone else, with my large hands, I can still flip it very well. Which, first time I picked one of these up, I was skeptical, because sometimes, I mean, shoot, look at the size of my finger. It's wider than that blade right there. But I can still operate it just fine. Now, you certainly can carry this in your pocket using that pocket clip. There's also a space here if you wanted to attach this to your key ring, you could. But in addition to that, it also comes with a custom molded Kydex sheath. The blade, or the whole knife snaps in there. You got a pretty cool look as it hangs down. You can use this as a neck knife. They do supply it with a breakaway ball chain. But when it's hanging around your neck, it looks like a really cool pendant, especially with the Damasteel kind of showing through these cutouts in the titanium handle. It's definitely gonna make a statement for sure. All right, everyone, that's all I've got to show you today. Let me know what you thought of the knives I picked out. Let us know in the comments which one was your favorite, or if you've got another favorite mini knife that you like out there. Now, if you want to get your hands on any of these knives, we will leave some links in the description that'll take you over to KnifeCenter.com where you can get your orders in. And while you're over there, as I always say, please do sign up for our Knife Rewards program, because if you're gonna spend your money on one of these cool knives, you might as well earn some free money to spend on your next one at the same time. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. I hope you're all staying safe, sane, and sanitary out there. See you next time.